grade 9 learners, this is Teacher Romeo and welcome to another awesome episode of Ciencia. For today, we will be talking about the circulatory system. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to identify and describe the main components of the circulatory system. Explain and describe the types of circulation. During our lesson, you have learned about the parts and functions of our respiratory systems. Let us have a simple recall of what we have learned in your previous lesson. You can write your answer on your notebook while watching and listening. What you have to do is identify the word or the phrase being described. I'll give you 3 seconds to answer. Are you ready? Let's begin. Number 1. It is the process when oxygen is brought into your body. 1, 2, 3. Correct. The answer is inhalation. Number 2. It is when carbon dioxide is sent out to the body. 1, 2, 3. Very good. The answer is exhalation. The last number is these are tiny air sacs where the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide takes place. 1, 2, and 3. What's your answer? Correct. The answer is alveoli. Alright, give me a heart react like this one if you answered the 3 questions correctly. And give me a thumbs down if you have an incorrect answer. Very good! Now that you understand our lesson on the parts and functions of the respiratory system, we can proceed now to our new lesson. What makes your heart beat fast? Put a check mark if it makes your heart beat fast. And put a cross if it does not make your heart beat fast. Are you ready? Let's begin. Number 1. You forgot your face mask. Number 2. You took a science or math exams. Number 3. You lost your cell phone. And number 4. Your crush wants to call you. Now, did all the items make your heart beat fast? The circulatory system is the life support structure that nourishes your cells with nutrients from the food you eat and oxygen from the air you breathe. It can be compared to a complex arrangement of highways, avenues, and lanes connecting all the cells together into a neighborhood. Sequentially, the community of cells sustains the body to stay alive. The circulatory system functions with other body systems to deliver different materials in the body. It circulates vital elements such as the oxygen and nutrients. At the same time, it also transports waste away from the body. Do you know what does the circulatory system consist of? For you to be familiar with the components of the circulatory system, let us answer the riddles that I'll be telling you. Number 1. I am the river of life. I transport a variety of essential elements throughout the body. What am I? Correct. Number 2. I am the muscular organ that pumps blood to the different parts of the body. I am as big as one's own clenched fist. What am I? Correct! Number 3. I am a channel through which blood is distributed to the body tissues and organs. I transport blood cells, nutrients, and oxygen to the tissues of the body. What am I? Correct! The circulatory system consists of the heart, the blood, and the blood vessels that carry blood to every part of the body and the lymphatic system. Now, let's talk about each of this one by one, starting with the heart. The heart is the muscular organ that pumps blood to the different parts of the body. It is located at the middle of the chest cavity with its tip or apex slightly tilted toward the left. The human heart is a 4-chambered heart. Now, the interior of the heart is divided into 4 chambers, namely the right atrium, the left atrium, the right ventricle, and the left ventricle. The muscle called septum divides the heart into 4 chambers. The atria are the receiving chambers of the heart. These chambers are thin-walled. The right atrium receives oxygen-poor blood from the vena cava, a large vein, while the left atrium receives blood from the pulmonary veins. The 2 ventricles are the pumping chambers that force blood out of the heart. These chambers are thick-walled. The right ventricle pumps blood to the lungs for oxygenation, while the left ventricle pumps oxygen-rich blood to all parts of the body. Why do the chambers of the heart differ in thickness? The chambers of the heart vary in thickness relatively due to its function. The ventricles are thick-walled because they work harder than the atria, which are thin-walled, in pumping blood to the entire body. A one-way valve separates each atrium from the ventricle below it. As a result, blood only flows from an atrium to a ventricle. It cannot flow in the opposite direction. Let us remember that oxygenated blood is carrying more of oxygen, and deoxygenated blood has less oxygen and carrying more of carbon dioxide. A wall of tissue called septum divides the heart in half, prevents blood from flowing between the 2 atria or 2 ventricles, and separates the flow of oxygenated, which is the oxygen-rich blood, and deoxygenated, which is the oxygen-poor blood. Next is the blood. Our blood is also known as the river of life. Why is blood called the river of life? It transports a variety of essential elements throughout the body. The blood comprises 8% of the human body weight. Can you imagine that? An average adult has about 5 liters of blood. The blood has 2 components, the plasma and the formed elements, also called as the corpuscles, that are suspended in the plasma. The corpuscles, or the formed elements suspended in the plasma, comprise 45% of the blood by weight. There are 3 formed elements: the erythrocytes, or the red blood cells, the leukocytes, or white blood cells, and the thrombocytes, or the blood platelets. These formed elements are synthesized in the red bone marrow, which is the myeloid tissue of flat and long bones. Let us try to match the different blood cells with their function. Choose which type of blood cell is being described. Are you ready? Let's start. Number 1. They are the soldiers of the body. Is it A, B, or C? Absolutely correct. Number 2. They are responsible for blood clotting. A, B, or C? Fantastic, that is also correct. Number 3, it carries fresh oxygen to the body. Is it A, B, or C? You got it right. That is the correct answer. Lastly, our blood vessels. Blood is carried throughout the body by a vast network of blood vessels, which resembles of pipelines that deliver water to households. There are 3 types of blood vessels. They are the arteries, the veins, and the capillaries. Arteries convey oxygen-rich blood away from the heart. Except for the pulmonary arteries that transport blood that has low oxygen content from the right ventricle to the lungs, most of the arteries transport oxygenated blood from the left ventricle to the body tissues. Starting from the aorta, the largest artery in the body, the arteries branch repeatedly into smaller and smaller arteries until branching results in the smallest arteries called arterioles. The arterioles play a key role in regulating blood flow into the tissue capillaries. Veins are blood vessels that move blood with waste towards the heart. Blood that enters the vein flows slower and smoother because the heart does not push blood through the veins. Instead, veins have one-way valves to keep blood from flowing. Arteries and veins are connected by very small blood vessels known as the capillaries. The walls of most capillaries are 1 cell thick. This allows oxygen and nutrients to diffuse through the capillary walls into the body cells. It also lets carbon dioxide and other waste materials to diffuse through cell walls into the capillaries. Acting as a double pump, the heart pumps blood throughout the body in a continuous circulatory system which has 2 circuits of pathways, pulmonary and systemic circulation. But how does this happen? In pulmonary circulation, the contraction of the right ventricle of your heart forces the blood into the pulmonary artery. This venous blood, charged with carbon dioxide, enters your lungs, passing through the capillaries. It gives up carbon dioxide taken from the body cells and receives a fresh supply of oxygen. The arterial blood then passes through the pulmonary veins in the left chamber of your heart. The circulation, therefore, involves the lungs as the oxygen supplier of blood coming from your body and your heart. Pulmonary circulation, therefore, transports oxygen-poor blood from the ventricle to the lungs, where blood picks up the new blood supply. Then it returns to the oxygen-rich blood to the left atrium. While systemic circulation involves the heart, blood vessels, and all the body parts. The systemic circulation provides the functional blood supply to all the body tissues. It carries oxygen and nutrients to the cells and picks up carbon dioxide and waste products. It carries oxygenated blood from the left ventricle through the arteries to the capillaries in the tissues of the body. From the tissue capillaries, the deoxygenated blood returns through a system of veins to the right atrium of the heart. As the right atrium contracts, the blood are forced into the right ventricle and the process repeats. Your heart is the most powerful organ in your body. How does your heart get its nourishment? Food and oxygen for your heart are supplied by your blood. The blood that feeds your heart, however, is not the same as the one that passes through the 4 chambers. Your heart is fed by blood passing through its own coronary arteries, which are little branching trees with trunks. These arteries also branch out of the aorta and lead to the capillaries that are deeply embedded within the thick muscles of your heart. After passing through these capillaries, the coronary blood supply moves into the coronary veins, leading to the right atrium. The cycle of blood flow is then repeated until blood is completely oxygenated. This is called the coronary circulation. Can you see your heart beating? How do you know your heart is beating? Does the rate of heartbeat ever change? Why do you think it is important to locate and know your pulse? As your heart beats, it pushes blood from the heart to your entire body through a system of arteries. As blood is pushed through the arteries, it produces a rhythmic throbbing. This rhythm is called pulse. A pulse is located where an artery is compressed by a bone, for example, your wrist and your neck. Why do you need to know or count your pulse? Listening to a pulse tells us a lot about the health of our hearts. An irregular pulse could mean some arteries, the major veins that carry blood throughout the body, are clogged. When someone is injured, a pulse that is too fast or too slow reveals that something is very wrong and requires immediate action. What should be the normal or average pulse rate? For children, ages 6 to 15, the normal heart rates are at 70 to 100 beats per minute, while for the adults, ages 18 and above, is 60 to 100 beats per minute. We are compelled to stay at home because of the pandemic. Because of this, you might gain weight that can be difficult for your heart. So, how can you stay fit and healthy during the community quarantine? How do you stay fit and healthy during the community quarantine? Number 1, get fit. Activities like strength training and cardiovascular or aerobic exercise can help people get the most out of their lungs and can help increase how efficiently they use oxygen. Walking, dancing, or jumping rope are just 3 examples of moderate aerobic activity. Anything that moves your body and burns calories has some positive effect. Number 2, do not smoke. According to research of the American Lung Association, a significant portion of people who were admitted to the ICU for respiratory distress were current smokers or had a history of smoking. Both the cigarette smoking and vaping are linked to lung inflammation and lowered immune function in the lungs airways. Number 3, eat right. Foods rich in vitamins D and omega-3 fatty acids found in cold water fish like salmon both help boost an immune response before the virus hits. Building up your immune system and reducing inflammation are both crucial if you are about to be challenged by significant viral infection. You will learn more about how to take care of your respiratory and circulatory system in our next episode. And that wraps up our episode for today. See you again next time. This is Teacher Romeo, and always remember, science is not just amazing, it is fun. See yan saya!